Welcome. We're continuing with our small project exercises, and in this tutorial we're going to create a fan using a revolved solid and surfaces. Let's exit sketch 1. That's because I want to place it on the YZ plane, so let's redefine it. Now select the YZ plane. Now let's double-click sketch 1 to activate it. Let's take a face view, and let's delete points. Project geometry, center point. Right-click, done. Let's create some geometry now for our fan. Select the line tool. Let's create a line. And let's close our profile. Right-click, done. Now let's add an equal constraint. Right-click, done. Let's apply dimensions now. This line will be 2 3/8 of an inch. 2.375, OK. This distance will make 2 1/8 inches. 2.125, OK. This line, let's make 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. OK. And this distance also 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. OK. This distance here, let's make it 1 7/8 of an inch. OK. Let's add a last dimension here. We'll give it a 0 value, OK. And our sketch is fully constrained. Let's exit. And let's activate the Revolve tool. Our profile is already pre-selected. Next, we need to select the axis. We'll use the Y-axis. Under Extents, let's use Angle. We'll go in both directions at 60 degrees. Let's click OK. And we've created a segment of the central hub. Now let's go ahead and create the blade. I'm going to start with a work plane. I'll offset it 10 inches. OK. Let's place a sketch on this work plane. Face view. Project geometry. This line and this line. Now we'll use a 3-point arc. We'll snap it to both of our lines. Right-click, done. Let's apply dimensions now. This dimension will be 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. OK. And same thing with this dimension, 3/8 of an inch, 0.375. OK. Now let's use a radius dimension. We'll make it 6 inches. OK. And let's create a second curve. Again, we'll snap to this line. Dimensions. This distance will be 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. OK. As well as this distance here, 0.25, OK. Let's make the radius of this arc 4 inches. OK. Now let's create 2 more arcs. They'll snap to this one and snap here. Let's apply dimensions. 1 1/4 inches here. Same thing down here, 1/4 of an inch. The radius of the arc, 4 inches. Now let's place the last arc. Snap to this point. When I go here, a dotted line appears. Let's left-click, right-click, and done. Now let's apply dimensions. Let's make the distance between these 2 points 1/8 of an inch, 0.125, OK. And the distance between these 2 points also 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. The radius of this arc, let's make it 3 inches. OK. Right-click and done. One more dimension is needed. Let's use a horizontal constraint between this point and this point. The sketch is fully defined now, so let's exit the sketch. Next, let's create a zero offset surface on this face. Activate the Thicken Offset tool. Zero distance, and let's select our face. Click OK. Activate the Extrude command now. Output as surfaces. Let's select this curve, here's our preview, in this direction, and let's drag it out to the hub. Just be sure that these two surfaces fully intersect. Let's click OK. Now we need 3 more sketches. Let's right-click on Sketch 2, make it visible, create new 2D sketch, project geometry, this line, exit, one more sketch, project geometry, this line, finish the sketch, and another sketch, project geometry, this curve, finish the sketch. Okay, let's hide Sketch 2 now. Right-click and unselect Visibility. Let's create a second surface extrude. Activate the Extrude command. Surface output in this direction. Also be sure that it fully intersects with this surface. And let's click OK. Now I'm going to use the Trim tool. For our cutting tool, we'll select this surface. Now surface to remove this segment. Click OK. Let's activate the Trim tool again. Our cutting tool and surface to remove. OK. Let's hide extrusions 1 and 2. Right-click, unselect Visibility. Let's activate the Loft tool now. We'll use this to create the first surface for our blade. Output is Surfaces. Activate the Selection tool by clicking in the Sections box. Now select this curve, this edge, and click OK. We can create the second surface in the same manner, but for demonstration purposes, let's try something else. I'm going to use the Boundary Patch tool. To do so, we're going to need to create a boundary first. Let's use a 3D sketch. Include geometry. Let's select this edge, this point, and this point. Now let's activate the Line tool. We're going to create a line between this point and this point. Right-click, done. And another line between this point and this point. Right-click, done. Be sure you see the green snap dot. That's what I'm snapping to. And let's exit the sketch. Now let's activate the Boundary Patch tool. Let's select this edge. There we go, this line, this curve, and apply. And done. Now we've got the second surface for our blade. Let's create a surface for the end of the blade. We'll use a new 2D sketch. We'll place it on the YZ plane. Project geometry, this line, and let's create a 3-point arc now. I'm going to snap to the bottom line, the top line, and drop the third point about here. Right-click, done. Let's apply some dimensions now. For our radius, we'll use a value of 1.5 inches, 1.5. Enter. And this distance here, let's make that 8¼ inches. Okay. Let's add one more dimension here. We'll make this 1 inch, okay. The sketch is fully constrained, let's exit. Take an isometric view. Now let's activate the Revolve Tool. Output as surfaces, profile. Let's select this curve. And the axis, we'll use the y-axis. Under extents, let's use the angle option in both directions. And let's enter an angle value of 30 degrees. Okay. In order to get a closed cavity, we need to create 2 more surfaces, on the top and on the bottom of the blade. Let's create one more 3D sketch. Include geometry. I'll select this edge and this edge. Now activate the Line tool. Let's draw a line from this point to this point. Right-click, done. Activate the Line tool again. From this point to this point, right-click, done. Let's exit the sketch. Click on Finish Sketch. Now let's activate the Boundary Patch tool. Let's make our edge selections now. And apply. Next boundary patch. Oops, let's cancel and make that sketch visible. Right-click, Visibility. Now let's reactivate the Boundary Patch tool and make our edge selections. Apply, and done. And here we have our closed cavity. Let's activate the Sculpt tool now. Let's select our surfaces. This one, this one, this one, this one down here, and lastly this one. Let's click OK. Uh-oh, error message. Operation has no effect on the part. Let's cancel out of the warning message, and let's go figure out where our problem comes from. Let me take a look at sketch 6. I want to zoom in close. There we go. I'm going to zoom in close on this point. Right-click, Show All Constraints. Let's delete the constraints. Now I'm going to grab this point and extend it above the edge, and exit the sketch. Let's take an isometric view. And let's reactivate the Sculpt tool. Surfaces to sculpt. Let's select this one, this one, this one, this one, the Revolve, and click OK. We've got the same error message. Let's cancel out and do the same for the bottom portion of the surface. We'll zoom in close, show the constraints, let's delete them. Drag the point out a little bit, and finish the sketch. Take an isometric view, and let's return to the Sculpt tool. Let's select our surfaces. We'll select all of them. There's our preview. Click OK. And here is our blade. Let's hide 3D Sketch 2 and Work Plane 1. Isometric view. Now let's apply a chamfer. We'll use the Distance option and leave the default distance in place. Now let me select 4 edges in my graphic area. Apply, and let's cancel out of the tool. Lastly here, let's apply a circular pattern. Features to pattern, let's make our selection in the graphic area. Now let's select the rotation axis. It'll be the y-axis. And let's click OK to execute the pattern. Take a home view to better view our work. And this concludes our tutorial about creating a fan.